Really like the end result, and Foxy, I'm going to ask you if they're just bad or not.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Are these guys just rubbish at League of Legends?
Well, we'll find out. For now, picks and bans, Yasuo, Heimerdinger have been removed by Unicorns of Love, Rise and Nocturne taken off the table by Splyce. Yesterday, Xerxes ran that Kane. Last week, he ran the Nocturne. I want to see what Xerxes keeps in his wheelhouse, because for me, he is a pivotal player for that team. When he can get people playing well, the team does look pretty good.
I think both junglers of these teams are core members of the success. When UOL win, Cold looks pretty bloody good, and when Xerxes wins, when Splyce wins, sorry, Xerxes is the same. We do have 2 jungle bans on the board, but something that both these players like playing is that Trundle, and I want to see whether or not we end up seeing that today. I'd like to see something a bit more exciting. We did see Kane, for example, but we could still see it. And there's the Aurelia first pick. No real surprise. A decent flex pick, actually, in this meta too. But even if you don't flex it and it goes into that mid lane, which we have seen quite commonly, it's still a really solid mid laner, especially when we know how UOL like to play. Cold setting up Exile, get him on that aggressive mid laner. Aurelia is a good start.
I like the options. And of course, the response is that Zoe. Saw that ran yesterday as well. One of these picks that continues to shine, and like we were talking about yesterday, Foxtrot, the hover on Diana, something Xerxes does all the time. It's not going to get locked in. Instead, it's going to be the Camille, still that flex pick. But what do you think, Camille into Aurelia?
Well, we did see, I believe that's what we saw yesterday as well. Camille into Aurelia, but also the Zoe was the flex pick here, because Sing played Zoe yesterday. You would imagine that, I mean, so far we don't know anything. We can't really read anything from this draft because all of these champions can be played in multiple roles, even that Zoe in that support role, which is a bit weird.
Wasn't the most exciting.
It wasn't.
Twice around the world it's happened. Once in the VCS, it was a win. Kasing let the ratio down. He went 1-4-1 yesterday.
Yeah, he looked decent in the early game. I'll give him that. He had some nice roams, but yeah, absolutely not really what they were hoping to get out of that Zoe pick. But I'm hoping this Pyke gets locked in here, because that is one of the more exciting picks you can see on this patch. We talked about the mid laners being able to play champions that really show off their skills. What about this champion in the support role? And it has been locked in, so we will be seeing Totoro on that Pyke, which is always exciting to see.
And it doesn't give us any indication what else is going to be there.
Not really, no.
It could be Pyke Aurelia if you want to go for some sort of kill lane.
Why not?
Pyke Vlad is something I've seen fairly often. Vlad's still up, available. And Aatrox has been locked in, so we assume that's going to be for Oda Wamne, most likely into the Mundo.
Yeah, Mundo's one of these champions that I would like to see a lot less of. He's not really that exciting, but either way, a lot of teams have found success with him just being exactly what you would expect Mundo to be, which is that unkillable raid boss who just runs down the enemy team. Pretty good into Vlad as well, like you mentioned, with the Vlad still being open. So going into an Aatrox instead, if that is an Aatrox top, because hey, this could still be the Exile mid lane Aatrox, which he has also played. Not Exile, sorry. It could be Niski's mid lane Aatrox, but we saw Exile play in the mid lane as well.
There we go. Depending, I guess, on how these next picks come out. I mean, we've got another jungler taken off the table, so Kindred finds herself removed from the pool. Ziggs as well. So still a couple ADCs left. I mean, I'm looking at Kobe. He's played the Heimer, the Kai'Sa, and the Ziggs. On the other side, Samux, Lucian, Lulu, Ziggs. So they've both dabbled in sort of the mage and ADC pool. They've played with the meta, as it were.
Absolutely.
And with Sejuani gone, I mean, this just has to raise Trundle's value.
You would think so. I mean, this is...
I do think so.
You do think so. All right. So, absolutely. Trevor, you do think so. Everyone else might think so.
What do you think?
But I think I would agree with you, honestly. Considering especially both these junglers like playing the Trundle. We have seen popularity in that Trundle pick. So we'll... This is the part of the draft where we can actually see where champions start going in, because right now, honestly, any of these champions could be going anywhere more or less, and I want to see, do you go for the more aggressive picks to round out your comp, or are you going to simmer it down a little bit and go a little bit more tempered in that aggression?
What would you like, knowing you've got the Zoe, the Camille, and the Aatrox?
I mean, I'm going to be biased, and say I want to see something aggressive. And you mentioned the Lucian's being played a bit as well, and this is one of the better AD carries right now in the meta in the LCK. We've seen Varus, we've seen Ez as well being played quite frequently, and Lucian's another one of these champions that you can pick up and works pretty well into most champions in that bot lane. Heimerdinger has been banned, so hopefully we might get more of a traditional bot lane matchup, which might be, this still could not be a bot lane Kai'Sa, but it might be a bot lane Kai'Sa, which would be a more traditional AD into AD matchup. If that is the case, then advantage Lucian for that lane phase.
And that gives us Irelia mid, most likely, and expecting...
And there's the trundle.
There we go.
If
so
it's locked in.
We assume
Yeah.
Mundo in the top, Trundle jungle, Irelia, Kai'Sa, Pyke. But Kai'Sa and Pyke, that is a terrifying combination once they hit 6.
Once it hits 6, and that's why before that point, you're really going to want to exploit that lane, which is why I like this Camille as the draft has unfolded to be a jungle Camille, because she is pretty good at ganking in that early game. She's not all about the early game, but she can make it happen. She can be aggressive if you're looking for that aggressive jungle pick. So there it is, most likely a Fiddle, to be fair, Fiddle jungle, yeah, let's do that. I'd like to see that. It probably won't be the Fiddle jungle, but there's a Fiddle 6 to round out the composition. Odoamne top native with that Aatrox, and it will be the Camille jungle. So, pretty aggressive team comps here, Trevor. I actually quite like it, and we have, I don't know, is this the first time in the LCS that it's been a standard AD bot lane?
I do not believe it's the first time. We'll have to check with our stats team in
One of the first times.
But it's more of a rarity.
Yeah.
It is more of a rarity. But then when you see Jaime is taken off the table, Ziggs is taken off the table as well. Neither team opted for Vlad, despite the fact that Vlad was open the entire pick and ban. I can see why. And despite the champions being unique, this is going to be very interesting. This Zoe versus Irelia matchup in particular has piqued my interest.
Yeah, it's quite an explosive lane whenever you've got Irelia in there, because she's got it all, basically. Her kit has good gank setup, it's got good scaling. If you put some resources into the Irelia, she will reward you for it. So you can absolutely see some stuff going down there. And we've said this time and time again, UOL, their win conditions often revolve around Cold and his ability to synchronize with Exile in that mid lane to create that dynamic duo of death. We'll see what they can do at this game with the Trundle and the Irelia.
Yesterday, I had the pleasure of interviewing Cold before the game, and I said, what will be the pivotal decision or deciding factor in your matchup against Giants? He said, me. End of story. Power, confidence. He ends up doing that Baron steal, clean, hops over the wall.
Yeah.
And at the end of the interview said, I told you so. It was very difficult to argue. I want to see what level of confidence Cold will bring to the Rift today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Unicorns of Love kicking off against Splyce. And as 8 o'clock has ticked over, so has Deutschland taking on Sweden. I've definitely thrown in my chips with Schland this year. So we'll keep you updated on the score as we can. For now, though, Foxtrot, let's talk about this laning phase. Aatrox into Mundo early. I feel like he's going to do okay. Has some tools. Zoe, I think, might be in a little bit of trouble if Exile decides to jump on him. What do you make of the two solo lanes and which way it's going to go?
It's one of these lanes where, or both these solo lanes are, the setups don't really matter in the 1v1. I feel like Aatrox into Mundo, whatever way you want to play it, it's kind of hard to bully out a Mundo. And as soon as Mundo gets the Bramble Vest, yeah, that becomes a little bit tricky, specifically in the 1v1. I'm looking more towards the jungle impact in this game, because Trundle, I mean, I say this, but I guess I should stop saying this, is not known for his early game pressure directly, but always whips it out in the early game, and often gets ahead in the early game. We've seen Memento do it, we've seen Cold do it before as well, so that could be the deciding factor of this game, is how this guy you can see on your screen that well. His face you can see on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, look, Cold's kills plus assists at 15 equal 3. His jungle proximities, the amount of time he spends on his lane is 42% of the time during the laning phase. And he's the playmaker. We talked about him plus Exile, how they combo together. Trundle plus Irelia. There's a lot of kill pressure, especially in the early stages of the game.
Yep.
And they both spike pretty early on.
Yeah, I think, honestly, Trundle and Nocturne are similar in the sense that they maybe lack proactive tools, depending on who you're going against. Obviously, the gap closes will make it harder for Trundle, but they're still very strong in the early game. You don't want to fight them in the early game, which means that the good players make stuff happen on these champions. And Cold here has gone for a very deliberate jungle path, where he's taken his red and is straight away level 2 ganking top. But it was warded out by Splyce, so no dice right there, and a reaction from Xerxes as well. He's going to be doing a cheeky little invade on those chickens. Yeah,
I mean, luckily Odoamne still had his flash, was just about to ding level 2. I looked over to see if he'd had his Dark Flight. Quite a difficult champion to gank. Aatrox, not only has he got some mobility in his kit, he's also got that revive passive, which is very frustrating to deal with at times. Nevertheless, alleviates some pressure, gets into Odoamne's head just a little bit.
Yep.
And yesterday we talked about how you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, Aatrox is a pretty new trick at the moment. I mean,
Yeah.
what Odo can do into this matchup, it's not something we've seen from him a lot over the years. You know, he's definitely more of those type of meta champion players, and I distinctly remember his Rumble being beastly.
But if you want to stand out and shine a little bit, Aatrox is one of these champions that is pretty decent at doing that, at least compared to the tank champions, which are a bit more binary in their playstyle. I used the word boring yesterday. A little bit like that, you know, and Odoamne can certainly get some more things going with that Conqueror as well. But we've got an engage in the bot lanes, sort of, a little bit of hope there.
Not a huge amount,
Shaky plays.
Managed to find the hook. Get some good damage and good trades, but it's so frustrating playing into Kasing with the silence and the fear.
Yeah.
That I hate playing into Fiddlesticks.
It's
I really do.
It's very irritating, but I do have to give some props to Kasing. Good old lad whipped out the Great Britain skin he's got on that Fiddlesticks. It's fantastic. It's the only opportunity he has to whip out, represent his country, and he's doing it. I'm proud of him.
Hey, listen, Harry Kane sends his regards.
Yeah.
Trying to carry you guys over the line.
He's doing his best.
Take a look at that. Death from below coming out there. Totoro gonna jump forward. Samuks picks up first blood. That's a straight up 2v2 outplay set up by Totoro.
Well, I just talked about him and how I was proud of him whipping out that skin. That's slightly less to be proud of right there, because Singh finds himself a little bit far forward, and we did mention about the Pike and how it's more of an exciting champion to play because you can have these proactive elements in your game where if you want to go for those engages, you can absolutely do so. And Fiddlesticks, a squishy champion, you catch him out of position.
Ooh, taking a look. There manages to find it. There's no follow-up though.
Not too much happening there. But the implications of this kill right here, as we're going to see it right now, Kasing stepping a little bit too far forward and just honestly getting caught out. Not too much to break down specifically. But this is not a lane that's really meant to be winning. Anytime you drop Kai'Sa into Lucian, you're kind of thinking, all right, it might be tricky in that early game, but we will scale, we'll have the late game. So if you can get an early kill in a lane you're kind of meant to be losing, hey, you'll absolutely take that one.
And of course, it's a duo, right? You have to factor in the impact that the Pike is going to have against the Fiddlesticks. Fiddle has that lane pushing power, has the frustrating CC to deal with, but when you step forward and you get out of the protection of the minion wave, you're asking for trouble.
And now, Kasing has no flash, and when you have that Trundle as your jungler, gap closers are tricky for Trundle to deal with because he's got his pillar, you jump over it, okay, you kind of walk away from him. But Fiddlesticks has no gap closer and he has no flash. That is a relatively easy lane for you to regain.
We'll have to keep our eyes on how that plays out. The cheers, by the way, coming from the Church of Scuttlecrab.
Right.
Talk a little bit more about them later. For now, Xerxes finds himself under some pressure. We looked at Cold and we talked about the positive influence that Cold has had on the game, but Xerxes actually has the same amount of jungle proximity as Cold, but is significantly less effective. 0.7 versus the 3 kills plus assists at 15 minutes. And I made a joke last week about his Nocturne looking like Evelyn because he just didn't find any plays. Right now, Xerxes level 4, just farming up what he can, got that red smite. I need to see something impressive on this Camille play, and maybe with all the shenanigans in the bottom lane, that's where the opportunity is going to come up.
Yep, and you have good gank set up with the Pike, and then the no flash Fiddlesticks. You know that UOL are quite possibly looking for a play in this side, so Xerxes might use that to his advantage as they've gone kind of deep here. That's a lot of people in the enemy jungle.
4-man stack, no teleports for either top laner, but Niski's the man that seems to be caught out. He gets a Sleepy Trouble bubble, but he's the one in trouble. Yeah, comes Xerxes over the wall. Cole takes a lot of damage, but it's actually a first kill picked up by Exile. Turns his attention over the wall. Now Samuks looking for the chase. Doesn't have a killer instinct just yet. Only level 5. Trouble bubble. He's going to put Exile to sleep, and that Paddle Star will rattle across Unicorns, but it's UOL. They get the kill, and they get some of the jungle camps.
I have a question for you and the stats team. Does that play right there improve Xerxes' jungle participation stats? His proximity stats?
It does indeed. So the way that the stat is calculated, between 3 and 15 minutes, if you're within 2,000 range of one of your laners. And of course, if the laners come to you, it also counts. So
what happens if you flash into the middle of the enemy team? Is there a stat for when that happens? Because Xerxes did a pretty bloody good job here of hard dedicating, failing miserably.
There's two different, there's not a stat necessarily. I mean, pro players call it oinking.
Oinking.
That is a term that you could throw around.
Okay.
But yeah, just jumping into 4 members, and that backfired pretty heavily.
It did, just a tad, honestly. I don't think that is a optimal play for Xerxes to be taking, and we put a bit of a highlight on these junglers, and Woof, I'm thinking Xerxes wishes the spotlight was off of him on that play, and no one saw that. But that was just a little bit too over-eager. And honestly, sometimes you have to think about maybe the mentality of this Splyce team, who are underperforming thus far in their summer split endeavors, and maybe they're just getting a little bit hypey. Well,
take a look at that. Cold picks up the next Scuttle Crab. And Foxtrot, I got to update the Fox Shot log right now.
Okay.
It's a Summer's Rift update, 23rd June 2018. Scuttle Crab, they just win League of Legends. It doesn't matter which team reigns supreme, it doesn't matter which team kills the Nexus. The Scuttle Crab will rise from its watery grave, and it will patrol that river forever. He's the true winner of Summoner's Rift.
Is it a he or a she, though?
Praise Scuttle Crab. We're gender neutral.
All right, that's fair enough. I can get behind that. It's a bit like when you see those dystopian movies, and nature always claims.
That's it.
Claims its way back.
That is what happens.
I also heard once that if a dystopian future were to happen, that it would be the biggest dogs that would last the longest.
Interesting.
Which is a shame, because my dog's a terrier.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
So I don't like that.
Yeah, Shad's not going to do too well there, unfortunately.
Nope. And as with all things, if it's a stat that you don't agree with, you just ignore it and pretend it never happened.
You choose to ignore it.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss, baby.
Foxtrot, both of these teams have chosen to sort of ignore the top lane. Cold went up there very early and went, oh.
He tried to cheese his way. He tried to whip open the fromagerie, and it wasn't happening. They were closed that day, so that wasn't happening. No cheese there. But like I mentioned, I mean, it's just a tough. You can't really do too much in that lane. I mean, it's just Mundo is. It's almost just gonna happen, you know.
Yes.
Mundo will be Mundo this game, and there's not too much you can do about it. Especially after what happened in that bot lane very early on into the game. You have to think that's going to be much more of a focus, because if anyone ever did go to that top side, you open up the bot side of your map.
Who are you more scared of to be free farmed? Are you more afraid of a Mundo or more afraid of an Aatrox?
Oh boy, I mean, I think Aatrox makes much better use of farm because he's got a bit of a higher carry potential, but at the same time, we've seen what Mundos can do in the LCS. We saw Soaz
yesterday.
Exactly, and we've seen Alfari on that Mundo too. To be fair, I kind of think Mundo might actually be one of these champions that you think of him as just one of these boring tanks that's just a tank, you know, but actually maybe he is more of one of these champions that if you give him resources and you give him gold, he'll do stuff with it.
I like this little hook here from Totoro. Xerxes going to be in a lot of trouble. No flash available either. Hextech Ultimatum comes down. It was Cold that picks up an easy kill. And this is just Unicorns just stamping control. 2.5k gold up. They're working towards first item spikes, and they've just owned this right-hand quadrant of the map the entire game.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to come down to Totoro's play individually on this Pyke. A lot of teams are leaving the Pyke open, and hey, I love to see it because Pyke makes games interesting.
Yes.
But at the same time, it must be hard to play versus this Pyke, and you have to admit at some point, yo, this Pyke's playmaking is really making it happen. If he was playing more of a passive laner, someone that doesn't quite have the tools that Pyke has, how many of these kills would have happened?
Exactly the case. 100% kill participation, even helping cover that Scuttle Crab kill, or play Scuttle Crab. And Odoamne continues to push up in this top lane. Got himself the Tiamat, got the Jerem's Fist, so starting to get itemization up. It's just the ward.
It's a really well-placed ward, but again, it's like, that is a unique interaction of Pyke himself. He jumps over a wall and then fishes someone over another wall to set up a kill, and he's such a great playmaking champion. And I'd love to see when the supports or when players just in general, it doesn't really matter what role they're in, are able to play these champions, to let them shine and let their aggressive plays and kind of a unique skill shine as well.
All right, aggressive plays being set up down on the board. What a stun from Exile. Sorry, I got very excited at that prediction. Straight through the portal jump. Vanguard's edge goes out, but I don't really know what Exile was hoping to do, unless it's just a bait.
But something we haven't talked about, Trevor, mate, while we're in this mid lane, is look at that CS difference, though, between the Zoe and the Aurelia. This is one of those things where I don't think Aurelia wins the lane that hard to justify a 50 CS deficit.
Blimey, that's an 1100 gold lead.
That's definitely a blimey moment, mate. I will give you that one.
I was trying to search my brain for some British slang. I'm like, oh, come on. I actually don't even know what blimey means, but I thought it was appropriate.
It was a perfect blimey moment. I love the fact you were telling me earlier in the caster room today that you had a meeting with the other casters to warn them of words I might use cues so that they know what those words mean.
I'm pretty confident that a lot of the audience here being German doesn't fully understand a lot of what Foxtrot says. I'm seeing some nods and some thumbs up in the crowd. So I just wanted to make sure at least the production team knew what was potting, all right? Knew how to translate Foxtrot into English, right? Something we can all understand.
That's, mate, everyone else is wrong and I'm right. I am English. I am the one who knocks at the language door.
Oh, we'll have to leave that one to the audience to decide.
Terrible state of affairs.
For now, Foxtrot, Unicorns of Love, as you said, they're just gigantic. 60 CS for Exile now. He's completely bullying Niski away. Level advantage. You've got the kills for Samex and Totoro. And, I mean, where do UOL go? It just, I guess, more invades into the jungle and go fishing for more kills.
Yeah, much of the same, honestly. They can just chill out a little bit. I'd like to see UOL go towards that Rift Herald as well, as they do have a decent amount of control over basically the whole map if they want to move people towards that. But they have exploited, like you mentioned as well, the lower third quadrant of the map.
Yep.
And they might continue to do that because there's nothing really stopping them, honestly. And if they can coordinate some dives with their mid laner, that's the best thing about having a winning mid like this, is you basically have free reign of the entire map because it's right slap bang in the middle. So if Exile wants to move and get some cheeky plays, looks like they might be doing the same thing here.
All right, good stun coming up, but Exile gets slept under the tower. There's a big fight all over the map, and Xerxes already blown up thanks to Samex and that Killer Instinct. He's got Rage Blade completed, by the way. Sunfire Cape for White Knight. Those one item power spikes are just being triggered. Exile's very close to Trinity Force, but just an easy pick, easy setup. 4 kills to 0 for UOL.
And a 100% kill participation for our friend in the bot lane as Aurelia's getting slept. Oh, that's the channel. Cassing's going in.
It's indeed. Caw! Gets the silence and the fear. And that's a kill onto Exile. Cassing brings one back.
Exile, mate, you can't do that one when you're right next to Cassing, baby. What's going on there? You had the lead. You've got it all in your pocket. The worst thing for you to do is throw it away. But he's got his Murk Treads now. He's got Cleanse. Maybe that'll be the only time that happens this game. Hopefully, from UOL's perspective, they will say that will be the only time
and
that
look
happens.
at it this way. In terms of value proposition, the kill was secured by Cassing on support Fiddlesticks, and Samex on his Kai'Sa got solo first turret blood.
Yeah, that's not too bad. As far as that goes, UOL will be happy with the turret blood at least. But Xerxes, mate, this at some point, this is just not cool. This is not fair. Xerxes, he is a player too, all right? UOL, give him some room to breathe. This isn't nice. Think about his feelings. And Aurelia will be feeling this one as well in the morning, I tell you. Look at that. How do you get away from an ulti into a flash? It's really tricky to do so. But on a more serious note, honestly, it's good proactive play by UOL to be sitting in a bush like that because they know there's a good chance if they go fishing, they'll catch something. But you have to credit as well Splyce getting their first kill there from a decent reaction. But this is sort of what Exile tends to do, yes. You know? It doesn't... You look at this guy and you think, mate, how are you not better than you are? You know,
it's
he doesn't tend to do... Yes, that's what I'm trying to say, you know?
Yeah.
He kind of lets himself down a little bit. But I mean, it's only 1 kill. I'm not going to dump all over him too much. But it is flashes of Exile.
I want to jump in here really quickly and just add to the story, because Exile is a player that when he's ahead, man, he looks amazing. He's been, you know, the game changer in team fights, and the Church of Scuttlecrab goes mad.
I respect that because Exile gave it to the jungler.
Good shout. But of course, Exile as well has had those controversial decision-making moments. Yeah. I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole because in this matchup, he is still 55 CS up.
He's really far ahead. And honestly, a lot of that is just in that 1v1. I mean, you can say his team's doing well, Cold's had better presence, Splyce's jungler, Xerxes, on the other hand, is struggling just a tad here. But you don't get that far ahead unless you've had some really strong individual performance. And Exile, he's making it happen here, and that Rift Herald will be knocking down that mid lane tower.
Yeah, it will. One little boop. That'll be the second tower of the game. For the Unicorns of Love, Samex will get himself another uncontested tower. I mean, Splyce, they're not even able to defend here. Falling behind in every single metric. Samex, by the way, the 2 kills he's picked up this game is the first time he's picked up kills this split.
Yeah, I was just thinking that myself. I was like, this is the guy who literally had not got a kill going into this game. But he's making it happen this time. And I have to say, honestly, if I'm Splyce here, I'm pretty bloody worried because they shouldn't really be losing this hard at this stage of the game. If anything, it's UOL who have the tools to succeed later on and perhaps would be struggling a bit at this point. And Totoro, the guy on your screen here, I mean, yeah, look at that. It's just getting a little bit out of hand, honestly, if you're Splyce. You've got to find a way to rein this one in.
Look at the gold graph on the bottom of your screen. This is the largest gold difference at 15 minutes for Unicorns of Love, all split long. The previous record was 1-3-2-7, and they're around double that this game. They're just continuing to pull ahead, and it's just Unicorns have been the proactive team.
Yep.
They've been the ones setting the plays up. They've been following Totoro. They've been very focused in the bottom half of the map, and I think that's justified with Irelia, Kai'Sa, and Pyke.
Absolutely.
But now White Knight is unlocked.
Oh, blimey.
Killer Instinct all the way forward. Niski actually dashed away to safety. He manages to escape with his life. So it's just Samix's cooldown on the R.
And the exhaust goes down as well, so not a decent one for UOL, which sets up the Dragon 2, which is important if you're UOL to use this advantage in the early game to get your objectives. They've got towers. Every single outer tower is down, Trevs, and 2 dragons plus that Rift Herald. They're doing a really good job, and this geezer right here you're seeing on your screen, Totoro.
Sorry, I didn't see anything. I was blinded by the volume. Did you get that?
That thing when you're sensory overload and it just temporarily faint for a good 2 seconds. That's fair enough.
It's that Ghost Water dive. It's something the tech team, they are aware of it, and they're working on it.
Oh!
Look at the Bone Skewer over the wall into a flawless Phantom Undertow. Now there's some pressure in the top lane. White Knight's got Sadism and Flash available to him. Okay, stopwatch goes down. Sadism is slowly ticking. There's the Flash away. White Knight cares not. And he manages to survive what was a 3-on-1 situation. Unicorns will take another tower, and just everything's going right.
Everything is going right, and Totoro is having such a blinder of a game that I would say, dare I say, he is challenging Hans Summer for MVP of this game.
Oh, such a nice play. Here we go. Dashing onto Odoamne. Killer Instinct's available for Samix. I was waiting to see if he was going to chase it down. Nope. Tower's going to be the focus instead. 20 minutes clicks by. 7,500 gold up. Not even 2 items completed for the most part on the Unicorn's inventory. They'll do that now. And this is how the play all started.
And that's the thing we were talking about, this Pyke pick. How many times have we mentioned the individual skill and Pyke enabling that? And look at that play. Everything about that, just that really clean grab into the flash stun. And this is it when you're ahead like this. You can afford to make those kind of plays because what can Splyce do in retaliation? They tried to do it with the top side going into that Mundo, but that's not really what you want to do. It's not really where you want to be. And good credit to UOL there, and Totoro obviously specifically on the execution. He's really stepping up this game.
No doubt about it, and I'm going to step away and turn another light to Splyce. Unicorns have done everything well, and we've praised a lot of the decision making. But at the beginning of this game, Foxtrot, we said, well, Splyce were a team, you know, they placed 3rd in spring, and this was sort of the measuring stick. How far they have fallen right now.
Yep, you can't use the excuse of the tough schedule if you lose this game, and hey, it's really not looking good if you're Splyce. But how much is it? I mean, I really shouldn't say this again, but how much is Splyce playing poorly and how much is UOL playing well?
It's a combination of both.
It is absolutely a combination of both, and I was talking to Maxor earlier, and he thinks that UOL are one of the more underrated teams in the entire league. So UOL, with their rough first week, have really turned it around. And what's surprising to me about UOL is the fashion in which they've done so, because a lot of it has come out of that bot lane, which, as you mentioned, Samux literally had not got a kill coming into this game. We weren't really expecting it out of that bot lane, ready to evolve from that bot with Totoro on that Pyke. It's not just the Cold and Exile show.
Yeah, definitely the case.
Although Exile's also doing pretty blooming well in that mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, 240 CS to 160. He's on the verge of flame horizoning Niski. 2 items was picked up for Samux, you were talking about, Foxtrot. He's got that Nash's Tooth to complement the Rage Blade, still sitting on that stopwatch as well. And Exile, they're threatening a bit of a dive or threatening some sort of engage with that duet stun. But we're all about Baron. With all of the damage on the side of UOL, with the Mountain Drake. Oh, Bone Skewer comes down into Kasing. He gets chunked out. Killer Instinct over the wall is available. Oh, it had been used. It had been used. Apologies. That's a survive there for Kasing. Forced to flash. At least that means the Crowstorm flash engage is now not available for a few minutes.
And that's the one thing that has punished UOL thus far. The single kill that Splyce has got was that Crowstorm flash engage. And hey, I just want to focus a bit more on the lad in the mid lane, because he went for the Merc Treads, he went for the cleanse. He was well prepared for this matchup, and he's really brought it to Splyce. And honestly, from an individual standpoint as well, and just really impressed, honestly, from Exile.
Yeah.
Really, really impressed.
I will accept that. Totoro's got that Ghost Water Dive available to him if he wants to try sneak up. And look at the vision that had been set up. Instead, the focus is now going to be Baron. Okay, looking at the minimap, vision superiority in favor of the Unicorns of Love. No flash for Kasing, but Splyce, they realize something's up, but they arrive simply far too late.
Can't do anything.
Skewer's going to pull Xerxes back. Look at the Vanguard's edge. That's already dashes available. Whoa, the flash and dash. Exile flies across the Splyce back line, shutting down Niski. Now trying to escape with his life, will be unable to escape. Hextech Ultimatum is issued. Challenge. Samex has an answer, and it's get wrecked. Xerxes, he's shut down in the Baron pit. Odo1 is going to get killed as well. It's Totoro that takes him down. Ends up being a 3-for-1, and Baron going to UOL.
But in the middle of that team fight, Kobbe secured the red buff. So when you weigh things up, maybe Splyce would be a little bit happy with that
I can tell you right now, Foxtrot, that I didn't even register there was a red buff in that fight. I chose to ignore it, so I thank you for filling in the blanks.
You're welcome.
The important bits that I missed.
He just wanted to be color coordinated with his jacket.
I actually think, like, I legitimately, like, blocked it from vision because I was trying to look at the champions.
I was looking at the champions and I saw this one geezer sitting there auto-attacking a red buff when he was surrounded by enemies. But this is what you were expecting out of the UOL lineup, when you just can't do anything against the vision control and everything else. But let's take a look at the important thing here. Look at that red buff.
That was one.
He's
flash forward.
Here comes the Kobbe. Ready?
Yeah, red buff.
Does the culling and thinks, you know what, lads?
Still
I've had enough.
Okay, yeah, actually.
I got the red buff. I'm out of here, boys. You can fight your own fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, jump onto Twitter and let us know at LOL Esports. Do you call Red Brambleback worth or not worth? Let us know. Actually, Berlin, do you call worth or not worth? It definitely
worth. All right, thank you. Beautiful.
I really hope the mics were picking that up on stream because it was a resounding worth.
I have another question for you.
Tell me.
Why did you invite me out here, Trevor? All I do is chat rubbish.
For all the lulls, mate. For all of the lulls. I brought you out to do what you're best at.
Which is chat rubbish, and I've certainly done a lot of that. That's definitely something you can't take away from me.
No, definitely not the case, and you can't take away the lead that Unicorns have built up. 10K,
or the red buff from Splyce.
Or the red buff from Splyce. It'll time out eventually, though. And then they can steal the next one.
Yeah.
But look at this. Double Mountains plus Baron, and Splyce are caught between a rock and a hard place. That's at least some sort of damage. Exile goes in. That's a very good Vanguard's edge. A lot of people getting disarmed on the way out. Exile's given up his life. The rest of Unicorns a little more focused on the inhibitor. It's a 1-for-1. Kasing for Exile. There goes Odo1 there. The Bloodwell is popped, rather. Going to respawn, but there's simply not enough damage. Simply not enough follow-up. A cleaver to the back of the head slows down Kobbe's escape. And Unicorns of Love have simply destroyed Splyce. They're going to focus down the Nexus turrets. Teleport's being channeled here, I think, from Kobbe. Gonna cancel that one in the end. The Nexus turret falls. Niski goes forward as here comes Samex. Flashes away from Kobbe. Continues to put the damage down, and Unicorns of Love defeat Splyce.
Clean team fight to end the game, as the whole game had been for UOL. Very, very clean. Something we are perhaps not expecting out of this squad. But you really can't take anything away from them. In that game, they looked proper solid. Good on every area of the map as well. Not really one individual stand-up performance. All of them played really well.
I agreed. Great communication, great map play. Just as I started to think in the mid-game or the early game, where do UOL go? What's their next decision? They took like 3 or 4 towers, a dragon, found some kills.
They did it.
Every single thing, but more questions. Now for the Splyce performance, 0-4 to start the summer splits.
Yeah, they are not looking pretty, honestly, and we had some questions about Xerxes and how we wanted him to step up. That didn't happen that game, and I was a bit surprised about that mid-lane matchup. Niski had been a stand-up performer on a team that had not looked so good. Maybe if he was born in Mexico, he'd had a better luck against that German mid-laner. But as it stands, got a bit demolished.
Ooh, I like that one.
Risky one to put out in Berlin, but here we go.
A little bit of a World Cup reference there.
You're my shield. You're closer to the crowd.
The thing that's actually an interesting question now, it's week 2 EU LCS. Next week is week 3, and the week after that, Rift Rivals happens. It's going to be happening in North America in the LA studio. And the EU squads that will be representing us, Fnatic, G2, and Splyce, it's going to be some question marks. It'll be a very interesting turn, and there's not a lot of time between then and now. For now, though, look, Sheepy on stage, celebrating, chatting away. Got to be happy with the performance that the team put together.
He looks pretty happy, but not as happy as he did when he was with us in the EU Masters.
No, definitely not. He was on the Shoutcaster desk.
Yep, but he was physically closer to me at that time, so that's probably why he looked happier back then.
He was in the makeup room with me earlier when I was getting some face paint to put on.
Oh, yeah.
And Sheepy assured me that the team would bounce back from their performance. Deutschland, the team he was talking about, from their performance against Mexico. But take a look at this duo kill, just straight up outplayed.
Yeah, and Totoro was doing this all game long, honestly. Just Kasing overstepping a tad. And when you overstep against a hard engaged bot lane, well, that's what happens. You get hard engaged on. And a lot of the skill in League of Legends comes down to how you think about the game and the opportunities you can create for yourself, not just the individual mechanical stuff, but positioning as well. And UOL did those things correctly too. And when you have a fed Kai'Sa, good luck stopping that Baron going down. And then this was really the nail in the coffin for Splyce, when you get the Baron, you get the team fight, Splyce to get the rep up, obviously, as we have already established, but they also got the defeat.
Yeah, just really good performance from UOL. There's not a lot more to say, and it's just, it's an exciting start to the split for the squad. And just some really big question marks. You'll see this gold graph just climbing further and further and further as the game went on. 12.2k damage there for Samux on that Kai'Sa.
I mean, at this point, UOL have to be, for me at least, my team to watch in the entire EU LCS, because what is this team now? Is this the team that we saw from week 1, or is this the team that we see from week 2? Because that was a very convincing performance.
The thing that's interesting as well, Unicorns as a squad, they opened up the Spring Split with a huge losing streak, and then they closed Spring Split with a very big winning streak, and you know, they're starting a little bit more of that secondary half. You guys at home, jump onto Twitter, go look at LOL Esports, let us know who your player of the game will be. We've decided it's going to be Cold, Samux, or Totoro.
I'll be Hans Summer.
I know where my vote is going. You can't vote Hans Summer. That meme is already dead. After the break, our analyst will be joined by Cold for picks and bans as Fnatic face off against Vitality. Don't go anywhere. Deutschland, we'll see you right now. Oh, there's another one. For more on UOL's win, let's check in with Pyra and their mid laner.
Trev, we're still watching League of Legends, man. Football comes in a little bit. Okay, guys, I'm joined by Exile, who, after a rough start, 0-2 week 1, you come back, bounce back completely for week 2, and now take your second victory in a row. How's it feel?
Feels pretty good to redeem the mistakes we did in the first week. I feel like we are playing a lot more solid now. We had also a lot of better scrim progress and a lot of better results in the scrims. So I think it shows now, and I think we are just improving really fast over the past 2 weeks.
You mentioned to me just before the start of the interview that your coach Sheepy has kind of changed up a little bit in some of the ways that he's doing things. Do you want to elaborate about that?
I mean, I won't go too much into detail, but he changed the approach of how he's coaching a bit, and I think this is a lot more simplified and is helping me and I think also all the other players a lot as well. So I think we're improving like really, really fast with this actually, and yeah, I think the ceiling is not even close to be reached yet.
Oh, a lot more stuff to do. I'm looking forward to seeing it if this isn't even your final form. Now, Exile, you personally, it seems, has definitely improved a lot. Now, there's a lot of resources going to you with Cold in the early game, but do you feel like a lot of this improvement is definitely on the way you've developed your own play?
I'm not sure. I think I had a really bad split like 2 splits ago, and I think the last split went a lot better as well. Yeah, and the split so far, I think in scrims and even on stage, I think the games are like going pretty well actually for me. And I mean, this game as well, we had like a pretty good lead and we could transition this by just playing around it. And I think this is like the majority of how we got ahead. And also our bot lane did like insanely well in the early game and they were like solo killing them. Yeah, that feels nice.
Everyone's stepping up as a team. So I got one last one for you. It seems like, for the most part, when Unicorns do actually lose games, you guys seem to have decent leads, or at least you're staying even, and then a critical mistake happens and things fall apart. Do you feel like that's something that you've been able to lock down and improve on for this week?
I think that we are getting a lot better with this. Like, I mean, we noticed it in scrims as well. I think we had a really long time phase where we had like problems with closing out games. I think like even the last week this was the case, and I think it's getting a lot better now. But yeah, we are still working on it, and I think that we can improve on every part of it.
Well, glad to see the improvement. Congratulations on your 2-0 week, Exile. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to a short break, but don't go anywhere. Fnatic Vitality is up next.